this thing going?
Oh, really excited. I think the guys are too. You know, as coaches and as players, have been working extremely hard in our skill work segment of the year and in the weight room and in conditioning to get to this point. And that's what we told our players the very first meeting we had, is our goal for the first month was to get them ready for team practice. And when team practice starts, that is our time to compete as hard as we can against each other. Guys are going to fight for jobs, along with trying to learn our philosophy and our way of doing things offensively, defensively, on the base pass, on the pitching mound, just trying to coach our guys and develop our guys to the best of our ability for the upcoming spring. So the fall is very, very crucial to us. It is the most important part of the season, in my opinion.
Over the last few months, how has it gone with getting to know the players and the personalities and all of that?
This went very well. You know, I would say that the one thing that I would say about this group of players that I can tell you is their work ethic is extremely good. They're very, very coachable group. They listen, they give you good eye contact, extremely respectful group of players. There's no question these guys have a lot of character and do things the right way. We have had a very easy transition, up until this point, simply because of the work ethic and the coachability of the players and how good the kids are here.
Do you have any goals coming into fall practice?
You know, my biggest goal as the head coach is try to implement what we think is important. You know, what are our game goals? What are our team goals? What are our individual goals? All of those things. It's really, and my job is to make sure every player understands what is important to us as coaches when it comes to what is going to help us win ball games in the spring. So that's the biggest thing that we're trying to do as coaches, is implement our goals for the team, and also to develop good rapport and relationships with the players. Along with getting a chance to evaluate them, because I haven't had a chance to evaluate them in live competition yet outside of live bullpens, batting practice on the field, defense, just hitting fungos and ground balls to the guys. We haven't had a chance to actually compete against each other yet. So I'm excited to see how these guys do once the pitcher gets on the mound. We actually can play baseball.
How much do you look at stats from the last year, 2 or 3 years, to try and evaluate some guys?
Well, you know, the biggest thing that I try to evaluate just looking at stats, quite honestly, is just, which guys in our lineup that are returning are guys that can score runs and drive runs in. That's the biggest thing that I look for is, who are our guys that you feel like have a chance to hit at the top of the order, guys that have high on-base percentages, that are guys that can score runs, which guys have a knack for driving runs in. Trying to just see which guys kind of fit runs scored, RBI type guys in the lineup. And then pitching wise, we're very young. We don't have a lot of returning guys, but the biggest thing we're looking for is the guys that are going to throw strikes, which guys are going to pound the strike zone. With a young pitching staff, you're going to run guys out there to throw strikes. So that's the biggest thing that we're going to look for, is when pressure hits, when adversity hits, can these guys continue to pound the strike zone so that we have a chance to play defense behind them, and which guys are aggressive at the plate and attack the ball in the strike zone and give ourselves a chance offensively to do some damage. But I look at stats, but quite honestly, it's a new year, and we don't look a lot at what happened last year in terms of trying to identify what player can do this or can't do that. It's a new year, and I think you treat that every year as a coach. You go into it and you say, we know this guy can do this, we know this guy can do that, but let's see if he's gotten better. And biggest thing is just trying to find their roles, pitching and position player-wise.
Some of the former Clemson players have been doing pretty well in the majors lately. Richie Schaefer, Kyle Parker, etc. Have you been following those guys pretty actively?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, the cool thing about Clemson is the Clemson family. Those guys reach out to us a lot. And, a couple of the guys that have already finished their pro seasons have stopped by and seen us. Duggar was in here, the other day, and got a chance to hang out with him a little bit. But, I know that, Coach LaCroix talks to those guys an awful lot. They're constantly texting him, letting them know how they're doing. And, it's exciting to see us have so many guys in the big leagues who are having some success. And, we hope that they'll get a chance to come back and visit with us this fall when their season ends.
I know you haven't evaluated really anyone yet, but do you still have expectations for their performance level?
Yeah, all right, we expect them to play at a high level. You know, we expect every player in our program to play at a high level, but I think the biggest thing about the evaluation part of the fall is just being able to see which guys can do what. You know, is there, you know, defensively, can this kid play multiple positions? That's important to me. You know, when it comes to depth on a position player roster, you look at that, can he play multiple positions defensively? Can this pitcher pitch out of the bullpen and can he start? Or is he going to be just a starter or just a reliever? I think it's really important that you establish roles and try to understand which roles these guys can pitch and play in, more than anything else, so that when you go into the spring, you have a really good idea of lineup construction-wise, what you want to do with these guys, and pitching staff-wise, you know, which guys are you going to use in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, and in what roles, and which guys can give you quality starts on the front end. So more than anything else, the fall is about establishing roles and establishing expectations. Our expectations is how we play, how we practice. This is what is important to us going into game day. You know, these are our goals in terms of run production and keeping, you know, the opposition to a certain amount of runs, and how we pitch, how we defend. Those types of things I think are very important. In terms of wins and losses, all of that is a byproduct of how you play. You know, so the big thing that I'm trying to teach these guys is how we play and why we do what we do. I think if they buy into that, then the wins and the losses kind of take care of themselves.
How did we play? Sorry.
Go ahead.
How did the media play? What did you think?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. We got some guys here and some girls with some pretty good swings that really know how to use their hands and attack the right, you know, the inside part of the baseball, and you know, drive the ball through the big part of the field. I thought our swings were pretty good. Not a lot of balls hitting the top of the net, which is good. A lot of line drives, low line drives in the cage, which we like to see.
Do you view, as you start out fall ball, is it rebuilding? Are you starting from scratch? I mean, what's the approach with the guys you have on this team?
Well, I think I always approach the fall the same, you know, regardless of, you know, wherever I've been. My job is to get the most out of this year's team. That's my job. My job is to get the absolute most out of each individual and out of this team, whatever that may be. So, you know, to me, it's really about coaching these players and making sure that when we get into the spring that they can enjoy playing, because they know what's expected of them and they know how to play. I think when you get into the spring and you start playing, if you're coaching guys through the spring about how we do things or why we do what we do when you're in that 56-game period, then you haven't done a good enough job of coaching them in the fall. You know, the spring is a time for guys to go play. And that's my philosophy. The off season, this is our time of year to coach and coach and coach and coach and develop these guys and get them ready for the season, so that when we go play in the spring, they can just go play. You know, game day is just a byproduct of all the hard work that you put into in the off season. So that's my goal, is just get these guys ready to play in the spring.
How do you handle the young pitching staff, and would you just kind of start all over and figure roles out as you go, or do you already have a set idea of what you want to do?
We definitely are trying to figure out as we go, in terms of, because we have so many young arms. You know, we've got a pretty good nucleus of freshman arms in here that, you know, we need to see what these guys can do in pressure situations, so that when we get to the spring, we'll have a better idea of what roles to put them in. But I'm anxiously, you know, awaiting the opportunity to watch them, to see what they do, you know, when the hitter steps in there and they're competing. That's the element that you can't see in the bullpen or in batting practice, is the competition piece. You got to see these guys compete for jobs and see which guys really can rise up in adverse situations and win jobs.
Do you install Clayt right away? Do you have an idea of who's going to be the #1 guy, at least at this juncture?
I have no idea who will be our #1 starter. You know, in my opinion, when you look at the weekend rotation is not back. So all 3 of those spots are open, you know, and all the bullpen roles are open. You know, we have a fairly good idea about a number of position players that they're going to be impact guys, because they have been impact guys and they're back. But from the pitching standpoint, you know, Clayt is really the most experienced guy back. Clayt has looked pretty good throwing the ball. You know, he's been throwing bullpens. He faced hitters 1 time, so he's a little bit behind schedule, but not a lot right now. The big thing with Clayt is he's just got to get physically stronger. His work ethic has been awesome. His energy has been awesome. His arm looks good to me. He's just got to get stronger. He's just got to get back to, you know, being as physical as he needs to be able to log the amount of innings that we hope he can log for us in the spring. Charlie Barnes has looked good. He's a returner that we expect to have a you know, pitched significant innings for us, and a number of other guys. Alex Eubanks has looked good. Paul Campbell's looked pretty good. You know, there's a number of pitchers that have a chance. And the freshmen, I'm telling you, the freshmen that we have here, some of those guys have a chance to be pretty good.
Of the freshmen, is anybody you really kind of want to see in that competition? You know, see
yeah, absolutely. You know, heck, I think they all have a chance. Again, when you throw the competition piece in there, you'll really see which guys can do it. But Higginbotham, Jake Higginbotham's got a chance to be really, really good. Riley Gillum is a freshman that's got a chance to be good, got a good arm. Zach Goodman is a pitchability righty that I think has a chance to be pretty good. And I'm sure I'm missing some guys. You know, Brooks Crawford is another kid's a two-way guy that's got some power, has a chance to be maybe a first baseman DH type and pitch some for us as well. And I'm sure I'm missing some guys, but there's some freshman arms here that have a chance to do some things, that have some talent. And again, it's all about, you know, are they going to be able to play when the lights cut on? There's somebody else in that dugout. That's the big factor, and we won't know that, you know, necessarily until we play in the fall, and then also when we get into the early part of the spring.
On the subject of pitchers, what is your philosophy on pitch count? Do you have like a hard and fast number that you use, or is it purely case-by-case basis?
That's a good question. You know, my feeling is this: I think you have to have a pretty hard pitch count early in the spring. I think when the season starts, and always in the fall, and we don't do anything past our pitch counts in the fall. Again, you know, if we pitch these guys too much in the fall and they're not at 100% in the spring, then what are we doing? You know, it's all about getting these guys again ready for the spring. So we will definitely be consistent with what our pitch counts are in the fall. I don't care if the kid's throwing a no-hitter; it doesn't matter. You know, again, it's about getting that kid ready for the spring and keeping him healthy. In the spring, yeah, we will have. My goal every year is to get guys to the 100-pitch mark by their third start. You know, I think that's kind of been my steadfast rule ever since I've been a head coach. You know, first start of the year, we're going to try to hit a certain number of pitches. Second start of the year, you know, we may get closer to 100, you know, more 85. We usually try to increase about 15 pitches per start. First start out of the fall might be 75, 80 pitches max, and then we may get to 90 by week 2, and you know, and then we'll start rolling a guy out there, and we'll base it on how he's doing.
Are you short on bodies at this point right now?
I wouldn't say that we're short on bodies, but we can't afford to get anybody hurt. You know, I mean, I think we're honestly, I think from a position player and a pitcher standpoint of the fall roster, I think we're about where we need to be. You know, you always want to be too deep at each position, and you want to have some catching depth, and we have a little bit of catching depth, which is good. And we have some pitching depth, which is good. We got enough arms where we can enter squad, and but yeah, I mean, you want to be at least too deep in every single position so you can enter squad effectively. That's the hardest part for us, is we can't play outside competition. So we have to have 2 teams worth of position players and enough pitchers to where we can play enough to where our guys can get quality at bats and keep their timing going throughout the course of the fall. And if you don't have pitching depth, you can't do that. And if you don't have position player depth, you can't necessarily do that. You're sticking pitchers in the outfield and, you know, pitchers at first base, and I've done that. And, you know, we may have Coach LaCroix go out there and play some middle infield or something if we have to. But right now, we're exactly where we need to be, and we need to hopefully, you know, knock on wood, stay healthy.
Anything else for Coach?